Alright, well, I've been doing some work on my Honda. Basically my heater wasn't working at the beginning of winter. It would get heat if I kept it about 3,000 RPM. And yeah, and then as soon as you go at idle, it'd be cold, or as soon as you took it up past 4,000 RPMs, then the coolant, the heat of the engine, thermostat, whatever, it dropped. So, what I did was I flushed the coolant. I used Tide. Tide and Cascade are two, things you can buy at Kroger or Walmart type deal, but without buying the flush. Because the flush, depending on whether it's acidic or not, if it is acidic, it is not good for your engine. It can harm your head gaskets or harm your radiator. And also, some of them that are non-acidic don't do a very good job. They're degreasers, but Tide and Cascade are also pretty heavy-duty degreasers. So I ran it through, and basically what you do is you run it through you drain everything out. You run it through with just water and Tide, and it's literally like the cup full. Just do like half a cup of Tide. It does not take very much. And you run it through once with water. You stick it in with Tide, and you turn the key on, run the engine till it's hot again. Keep the heat on high, keep the fan on off. You can turn it on, doesn't really matter. And also, you just let it run for a little bit. You wait for it to cool down, because if you just drain all the coolant out of it, there's no way for the engine to get rid of that heat very quickly. A lot of it stays up in there. And then you run it with just straight water again, take it out, and then literally you take a hose, or I didn't have a hose. I didn't have one long enough to reach in this garage, so I poured about 3 gallons of water just straight through the radiator. And also, even when you open it now, I'm low right now, but anyway, so you open it now and you smell in there. It smells like Tide. It smells awesome. And weirdly enough, if you have a coolant leak and it gets to a hot place, you start smelling Tide, and then you know it's a coolant leak. It's one of those things. But if you have a trained nose, you usually can tell the difference. Alright, well, my flashlight's in my pocket, but I'll show you what I did. Well, I replaced the thermostat. I got a super stat from Stant. You can get it at Advance or anything, and right there's the thermostat housing. You got one bolt on top, one bolt on bottom. Just comes out. Make sure you're doing the hose and undo the sensor first, and it's just right in there. Really flipping easy. That was my main problem. I had a leaking thermostat. But back here, I painted that bracket blue. But right where my light is on, that is called a heater control valve. It's very, very simple. There's this, not a good spot. I don't know if you can see that wire right there that goes to that arm. Basically when you have it on hot, it turns this valve completely open, so all the water can go back into the heater core. And then if you have it on AC, it turns the valve completely the other way, so there's no heat coming to the heater core, so the AC works better. Well, I didn't have very good AC in the summer either, so I'm hoping this fixed that. And for those who do not know, literally a heater core is like a radiator right here. It literally just is a tiny radiator. It gets real hot, and then your blower motor spins a fan like this. Imagine this being the blower motor, and it blows air past this hot radiator, so you get all the heat from that circulates throughout your cabin. So basically, what you have to do is there's a nut right there that you have to take off a stud. And you have to pull it somewhere away from either the heater core, which mine was stuck there, so I just got that clamp. I haven't put it back on. That clamp to the actual heater control valve. And you just separate that, pull it off. There's 2 screws on the bottom to actually get the valve off of the bracket. I'll show you what happened to my last valve. It's pretty simple. Alright, you see that? There's no arm on it. The arm completely broke off. This little hole in there. There we go. Got it to focus. That's one thing cool about these iPhones. You press wherever you want it to focus. And yep. On the bottom you can see the 2 holes where the screws went in for the bracket. And literally, when the engine, you want the D side against the firewall, okay? I mean, this looks like a D. You want this flat side against the firewall, and that's how it works. And it's pretty. As you can see, the valve inside there was not a good amount of fluid going through, so now my heat will come on twice as hot. So it's pretty awesome. This was really a pain in the butt, actually, because it's all the way in the back there. And one cool thing about having an aftermarket intake, as you can see over there, is it's one screw and it all comes off, where you got a lot more fasteners with the stock one. Yeah, I know my cone's all messed up. I got a Jinx Spectre one. Get a K&N one of these days. Alright. And for critics who say it's not a cold air intake, whatever. Be a troll. Gives you a little bit better throttle response and depending a little bit better gas mileage. Plus it sounds good. So yeah, and for those who do not know, Honda antifreeze is blue. If you get it the right kind, it's blue. Nowadays it is, at least. It used to be green, I believe. So all you have to do is swap out that valve and check it. I mean, these things break a lot. There's this thing that literally looks like a house. Like if you drew a house when you were 5 years old, it's like a little triangle at the top and then squared off. That's what this actual thing is. The plastic part on the heater control valve. And then you got an arm that connects to it. And if that thing strips, it's no good. So just take your finger back there and flick the arm back and forth. And if it's got a lot of tension on it, you're good. If it doesn't, sorry, but probably going to have to replace it. So that's it. That's pretty easy. Alright, catch you later.